Hello and welcome back to my video podcast. I'm Keith R. Reese and this is episode 10 of our video podcast. And we're in the middle of December, we're rolling right through the holidays, and Christmas will be here in about 2 weeks from yesterday. So we've gone over all the books that I've written and the collections of poetry, and now we're going to go back and do a more in-depth analysis of my latest book that came out in this past June from Savant Books and Publications, One Night in Bangkok. So what is a more in-depth look at this book? I told you about the story, but this is a trilogy. This is part one of a trilogy called the One Night Trilogy. And the prologue to this book sets up the entire trilogy. So what happens? Why are we getting so excited about this? Why should this book be made into a movie and the rest of the trilogy be made into a movie too? 1, 2, and 3, just like they did Lord of the Rings, one each year. That's what I think this should happen. And the prologue sets it up. This is why it's so exciting. Let me tell you about it. I've read this in my book launch last summer at Malvern Books. I did the reading of the prologue. I'm not going to read it here. I'm just going to summarize it for you and try to act it out too. Miles Devereaux wakes up in a bar, and it's early in the morning, and it's raining outside. It's still cold outside. The rain's slapping against the window, and he wakes up in a booth in a bar, and he's going, what am I doing here? How did I get here? Why am I still asleep and why in a bar and no one else is here? And then the bar owner, the place is called Reggie's Tavern, and Reggie is still there. And he comes gliding out of the kitchen and skids on the floor in his sneakers because he sees somebody still sitting in his bar, and he goes, Miles, what are you still doing here? I thought you just left with everybody else about an hour or so ago. And Miles is just sitting there going, I don't know what I'm doing here. He doesn't really say because he's so confused. And he decides to leave, and this rain is coming down real hard, and Reggie's saying, you need to get home, man. You need to get low. The storm is going to be bad. And so he takes off running down the street in the fury, in the rain outside, and he's running, and he's got all these old clothes, and he has no idea why he has these old looking clothes on. They look real ratty, like they've come off a hobo or something. And it looks like he's dressed from decades before. And while he's running, he starts to get flashes of memories. He's thinking about places that he doesn't know if he's ever seen before. He sees these big, humongous cities, these huge metropolises that look like they spread as far as the eye can see, and they look space age. And then he sees cities in complete ruin and piles of rubble. He doesn't know why he has these flashes of memories coming into his mind while he's jogging along trying to get back to his home. Why is he trying to get back to his home? He's married. He has 2 kids. He has a third on the way. His wife is pregnant with their third child. He has a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old there at his home. And he's racing back trying to get to his building. And when he gets to the staircase outside, it's still pounding rain on him. The wind's blowing like crazy. And then he remembers. He's going, oh no. I hope this doesn't happen to again. It can't happen to me again. So he starts racing up the stairs. He lives up on the 4th or 5th floor at the top of the building, and he's racing up the stairs. No, it can't happen again. And he starts yelling out his son's name. Kaz, let him go. Don't do it again. Stop. But he runs up the stairs, and we go to the inside of his apartment. And Kaz, his little 1-year-old son, is just sitting there on the floor in the hallway, and he's throwing these marbles down the hallway, just one at a time. He's laughing and giggling. He's playing. And then all of a sudden we hear Miles's voice from inside the apartment. He's going, son, I told you to stop that. We're trying to get ready to go. Quit playing. You're making too much noise. It's early in the morning. So you start wondering what's going on. Miles is racing up the stairs, but we hear Miles inside the apartment also. And as soon as the wet and soggy Miles races to the top floor, Kaz throws one last marble down the hallway. And it's tapping across the floor and tapping and tapping and tapping. And Miles inside the apartment says, "Son, I told you no." And he lunges after the marble that's bouncing across the floor. And as soon as he does, the door flies open and the wet and soggy Miles comes crashing to the floor, slamming into the door wall. And he's going, "No, stop." But it's too late. As soon as he does that, the other Miles catches that marble. And as soon as that marble hits his hand, he disappears into thin air right through the floor. And the other Miles just watches astonished and shocked as he watches helplessly as his other self disappears into thin air. And then chapter 1 starts where Miles wakes up. And just like I told you in the previous episode, Miles wakes up on an airplane as it's descending into Bangkok, Thailand, 60 years into the future. That's where he went when he caught that marble. And that particular scene right there sets up the entire trilogy. That's the one reason to read this book. So go pick it up today. It's on sale on Amazon. And it's Christmas time, so it's still not too late to pick up a copy and have it for your loved ones that are the reader in your family. And have it for them under the tree on Christmas Day. It's a great book, it's a great read, and it's part 1 of the One Night Trilogy, One Night in Bangkok. Merry Christmas.